Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we take your curiosity as our guide and explore fascinating topics. Today, we're jumping into a story that sits right at the heart of the AI revolution. But it's about the often unseen work, the stuff that makes those impressive AI models actually possible. We're dissecting a detailed report on the Metascale AI partnership. And this has been one of the largest corporate deals in the AI industry, valued at, well, an astonishing $14 billion.
Yeah, and this isn't just a big number on a page, right? It's a strategic alliance,
Yeah.
a really significant one. But now it's reportedly under immense internal pressure. So our mission today really is to unpack why a deal of this magnitude is facing strain, what it means for a tech giant like Meta, and what signals it sends to the entire AI ecosystem, including, crucially, the human workers behind the scenes. You'll gain, I think, a critical shortcut to understanding the complex economics and the hidden challenges of building these frontier AI models.
Okay, let's dig into the details then, because you might not realize it, but behind every sophisticated AI model, the chatbots we talk to, the image generators, there's just a mountain of carefully prepared data. So maybe let's set the scene first. Why is this data labeling so absolutely crucial for companies like Meta? We hear all these terms, right? LLMs, multimodal systems, this is the tech powering Meta's big AI push. What exactly is the role of this labeled data while teaching these complex systems?
It's the absolute foundation. Really, it's the lifeblood. Labeled training data is just critical for fine-tuning these models. It helps them understand context, identify patterns, perform tasks with accuracy. Think of it like this. If you're teaching a child to recognize different objects, right, and show them thousands of examples, and you clearly name each one, it's the same for AI. Each image of a cat needs that explicit cat label. Each bit of text needs categorization. Scale AI, they're a San Francisco-based company that became a key player here. They provide these human-annotated data pipelines, the labeling platforms. And they've been essential for refining model accuracy in, well, everything. Text classification, reinforcement learning with human feedback, RLHF, even advanced computer vision. Without this human layer, honestly, the raw data is essentially just noise. It's unusable for sophisticated learning.
Right. So Scale AI wasn't just a supplier. They were deeply ingrained into the DNA of Meta's big projects like Llama 3. This wasn't just some standard vendor agreement then. It sounds more like a strategic dependency. Does that leave Meta a bit vulnerable now?
Oh, absolutely a strategic dependency, no question. Meta relied heavily on Scale AI's global workforce. They needed them to build these massive data sets required to train their most advanced frontier models like Llama 3. That $14 billion contract signed back in 2023, it wasn't just a big purchase order. It was a deliberate investment, to secure priority access, to get reliable, large-scale annotation capacity. Meta was betting big on this partnership. It was meant to power their AI ambitions, give them that competitive edge in a really fast-moving market. They were looking for a seamless, high-volume data supply. That was the goal.
Okay, so a $14 billion strategic investment sounds pretty solid on paper, but here's where it gets really interesting. Despite this massive deal, recent reports indicate this collaboration is facing significant internal challenges. What are Meta's AI researchers reportedly uncovering? What's causing this strain?
Well, the core issue seems to boil down to quality concerns. Meta researchers have reportedly found inconsistencies in the labeling, and particularly in the really nuanced tasks. We're not talking about simple stuff like, is this a cat or a dog? This is about complex safety fine-tuning. Things like detecting subtle toxic content, reducing biases in AI responses, handling tricky ethical dilemmas. This needs deep contextual understanding, cultural awareness, exceptionally consistent judgment. The specific issues cited included mislabeled edge cases, those unusual scenarios that are really hard for AI to classify correctly. Also, cultural context errors, where maybe annotators didn't grasp the full meaning because of regional or language differences, and perhaps most concerning, a lack of consistency across different annotator teams working on the very same tasks. And that directly impacts the reliability and, crucially, the safety of the AI models being built.
Mislabeled edge cases, cultural context errors. Yeah, that sounds like a pretty significant problem, especially if you're trying to train unbiased, safe AI for a global audience. And then there's the cost. You mentioned it before, but that $14 billion price tag, how much does that amplify the frustration inside Meta? Is it just a cost-benefit thing now, or are there deeper reputational worries for an AI giant if their foundational data isn't quite right?
You've hit on a critical point there. That $14 billion figure definitely makes the quality concerns feel even more acute. I mean, this contract represents a massive cost center for Meta's AI research division, a huge chunk of their budget. And in an industry that's increasingly focused on optimizing AI development costs, everyone's trying to do it cheaper. And faster researchers are scrutinizing this. They're asking whether Scale AI's value proposition really justifies such a significant expense. especially if the quality isn't consistently meeting the super high bar Meta needs for its frontier models. So yeah, it's a stark cost versus value trade-off. Any perceived underperformance gets magnified by the sheer scale of the investment. And yes, absolutely, there are reputational risks. If your foundational data is flawed, your AI models, no matter how clever they are, will carry those flaws. That could lead to public missteps, safety issues, things Meta wants to avoid.
So this reported shift, moving away from potentially just one massive vendor to exploring multiple options, what does that really signify for the Metascale partnership itself? Is the exclusivity eroding?
Well, it certainly raises that important question, doesn't it? If the foundational data isn't top tier, the sophisticated models built on it, it just won't be either. It's garbage in, garbage out, essentially. So as a direct response to these reported issues, teams within Meta's FAIR group, that's their fundamental AI research arm, and their generative AI groups, are reportedly testing competitors, actively testing. Specifically, the reports mention Surge AI. They're known for high-quality expert annotators, particularly for linguistically complex tasks, and they're also apparently evaluating Merkur. Merkur uses a more distributed freelance labeling model, reportedly offers flexibility, maybe lower costs. So this move towards vendor diversification, it strongly suggests a significant erosion of that exclusivity in Metascale partnership. They seem to be moving away from relying on that single massive supplier towards a more distributed approach. Hedging their bets, maybe?
Yeah, hedging their bets makes sense. And this feels like more than just a contract renegotiation. It seems like a pretty significant bellwether for the broader AI industry. What are the immediate risks and opportunities this presents for Meta? And what kind of signal does this send out to investors watching Meta closely?
Right, for Meta, there's likely to be some short-term disruption. Let's be realistic. Splitting complex labeling tasks across multiple vendors. That can create integration challenges, making sure data quality is consistent across different platforms, managing different workflows. It's not trivial. However, looking longer term for resilience, diversifying suppliers could significantly reduce their dependency risk on any single vendor. That's a big plus. It also increases their bargaining power, right, on both cost and quality. It fosters competition among providers, which usually benefits the buyer. And crucially, this move sends a powerful signal to investors. Meta's pivot highlights the fragile economics of AI training pipelines, even for these trillion-dollar tech firms. It shows that even the biggest players are feeling the financial squeeze and are demanding more bang for their buck when it comes to data.
Okay, and turning to Scale AI. Going from what looked like this exclusive $14 billion golden ticket to potentially sharing the pie, that fundamentally alters their competitive standing, doesn't it? That's a huge shift for them. Oh, absolutely. A massive shift. Losing that exclusive hold over a client the size and importance of Meta, it inevitably raises serious questions about Scale AI's position as the industry's sort of default go-to labeling partner. To maintain their edge, Scale will likely need to significantly strengthen its quality control. That seems paramount based on these reports. But perhaps more importantly, the source suggests they might need to evolve. Expand beyond just annotation services. Move into broader AI infrastructure, model evaluation, maybe developing autonomous agents areas where they've already been building products, like Scale Donovan for AI testing. This kind of strategic pivot could be crucial for their long-term revenue, their market relevance, especially in such a rapidly changing landscape that can't stand still.
Right, they need to adapt. So if we pull back again and look at the wider AI ecosystem, what's the main takeaway from this whole development? What are the key trends maybe we should be watching for now? Yeah, I think this highlights a few really key trends that are probably going to shape AI development going forward. Firstly, you could say the commoditization of data labeling is accelerating, meaning it's becoming more of a widely available service, maybe less specialized at the basic level. The rise of competent competitors like Surge AI and Merkur shows that large-scale annotation isn't a monopoly anymore. The market's maturing, diversifying. Secondly, there are clearly higher quality demands emerging. As AI models get more advanced, deployed in more sensitive areas, companies need specialist annotators, not just sheer volume. The days of just throwing huge amounts of data at a general workforce might be fading for these high-end tasks. And finally, with AI training costs just soaring, there's immense economic pressure. Firms have to continuously seek cheaper, but also higher quality labeling alternatives. Efficiency and precision are becoming absolutely paramount.
And this whole situation also brings us back to the people involved, doesn't it? The human dependency. This huge, often unseen workforce doing the actual labeling. They often get overlooked in these big tech stories. What does this tell us about the operational and maybe the ethical considerations surrounding these human annotators?
That's such a critical aspect and, often overlooked. Scale AI, its competitors, they employ tens of thousands of workers globally. Many are in lower income regions, and this raises really important questions about annotator welfare. Their wages, their working conditions, even their mental health. Think about it. They're often tasked with labeling sensitive content like violence or extremism day after day.
Yeah.
That takes a toll. And if annotation quality suffers, you can often trace it back to these human factors: burnout, lack of training, unclear guidelines. Furthermore, from a kind of corporate governance angle, Meta's shift hints at an internal recalibration. They're trying to balance the sheer speed of development, which is intense, with cost efficiency and ethical oversight in building this frontier AI. They face tough decisions on how to ensure responsible AI development, and it really starts with that human layer, the data foundation.
Okay, so wrapping this up, looking ahead, what's the likely future outlook for Meta, for Scale AI, and for the industry overall, given these strains and this evolving landscape?
Well, for Meta, the most likely path seems to be towards a robust multi-vendor strategy. This probably means blending Scale AI's large-scale capacity, which is still valuable, with the more specialized, high-quality annotation offered by companies like Surge AI and Mercor, depending on the task. For Scale AI, as we discussed, they really need to execute that pivot, move from being seen primarily as a labeling vendor to a broader AI infrastructure provider, offering more sophisticated tools for model evaluation, testing. That's likely key to protecting their long-term revenue. And for the industry trend, it really looks like the market might bifurcate, split into two tiers. You'll likely have generalist annotators handling the low-cost, high-volume, less complex tasks. And then you'll see this growing demand for specialist annotators, crucial for the high-cost, high-quality, domain-specific needs. It's about matching the right expertise to the complexity of the job.
Yeah, that makes sense. This deep dive has really shown us that the economics of AI training are, well, clearly under intense pressure. Even these trillion-dollar companies like Meta can't just afford inefficiencies or compromises on quality when they're building these frontier models. This story is definitely far more than just a contract dispute. It's a fascinating peek behind the curtain of AI development. It reveals the complex, the expensive, and often very human-dependent process that underpins the AI tools we're all starting to rely on more and more.
Indeed. And by questioning Scale AI's value proposition so publicly, Meta is signaling a significant shift across the whole industry. It's towards greater cost discipline, yes, but also a heightened focus on quality prioritization. The blunt lesson here seems to be good enough data labeling is rapidly becoming not good enough, especially for cutting-edge AI. This isn't just about saving money. It's a realization, maybe a stark awakening, that the quality of human judgment behind these AI models directly dictates their reliability, their safety, their fairness. So for you, the listener, this really marks the start of a new phase, where the infrastructure of AI, the data, the labeling, the evaluation, is going to be scrutinized just as much as the flashy models themselves. And it leaves us with, I think, a provocative thought. If your frontier AI models are truly only as good as the human data they're trained on, what is the long-term cost, financial, ethical, societal kill of ensuring that human input is consistently ethical, unbiased, and of the absolute highest possible quality?